Good afternoon. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper IO, and I'm here today with Adam Burns, the Managing Director at ITG America. Good afternoon, Adam.
Good afternoon to you.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a nice, beautiful day here in Southern California, so I'm doing awesome.
Same here in Northern Cal, and looks like it's going to be a good weekend. I'm looking forward to it. So,
excellent.
Can you share a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Yeah, so I went to Stanford, then I got a law degree and an MBA from UCLA, started out as a corporate and media attorney at a very large law firm called Latham and Watkins. Did that for a few years, decided I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore, then got involved in several technology and media startups, and most recently, probably about 6-7 years ago, got involved in the education world. Started a educational games company with Nolan Bushnell, who founded Atari and Chuck E. Cheese. And then from that, jumped to where I'm at now, which is running the US and Asian operations for a company called ITG America. So ITG America essentially is the US-based operations of a very large education company called ITG that's based out of the MENA region in the Middle East. They have offices in Jordan, Saudi, Egypt. They do the entire country of Saudi, everything. Entire country of Jordan, Bahrain. In the MENA region, they are the dominant education player in student information systems, learning management systems, assessment management systems, as well as enterprise ERP systems. ITG America was founded I've been at ITG America for 3 years now, and it was founded a couple years prior to that. They really hadn't made much progress when they brought me on. We've made some progress in the US market, but frankly, we've now made some really large progress in the Asian markets. So that's a little bit about us.
Interesting. And I'm assuming you've done some traveling to those parts of the world?
Yeah, so my life has changed a lot since the whole coronavirus thing happened. I literally was on a plane almost all the time. Even though I've been living in Southern California for a long time, I'm from Northern California. When I was hired for the job, the US operations of ITG America were based in San Jose. I told them I wouldn't move because I have a house here in LA and I didn't want to move. And they said, all right, well, we'll fly you back and forth. So that's what they were doing 3 to 4 out of every weeks out of every month. I was up there pretty much Monday through Thursdays. So I was doing a lot of back and forth to the Bay Area, but I was also doing a lot of international travel too. We're doing stuff in India now. We've got a very large project there. I was doing some stuff in the Philippines. And then of course, at least once a quarter, I was going to our parent company office for at least a week in Amman, Jordan. So I was literally living on a plane. I was probably averaging at most 6 or 7 days out of a month in my house. And since the coronavirus hit, I've been pretty much in my house the entire time, other than for the 4 days that I went up to Northern California to clean out our offices up there because we made the decision to work remotely. So I have people I manage in Utah and other places, and we just decided it wasn't worth the expense and hassle and everything else of keeping an office up there.
Interesting. So what's your takeaway from how it's worked? I mean, obviously you've made the choice to close an office, so you must be somewhat happy with the results of working remotely.
Well, from a purely personal point of view, it's made my life a little bit easier in that I don't have to take planes all the time. And to be honest with you, for the kind of work that we do and for the level of people, because I'm not hiring a ton of new people. So, I mean, I think it would be a lot more challenging if I was like bringing new people on and everything else. But I have some senior people working for me, and some of them were actually working remotely anyway. So from my personal point of view, getting the work out of my house makes life just so much easier. At some point, I'll probably have to go back and do at least a little of the international travel, and I may be back up in the Bay Area, but it'll be more like once every month or every other month. It won't be nearly as often as it was.
Yeah, and I've done some travel in my day, but not as much as you. But I mean, when you go to another entity, another country, or even another city, you really are a remote employee then too, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, and also the other thing too, one of the places that I was traveling, India, and it seemed like as much as I tried to be careful about the water and everything else, and I always seemed to come back a little sick every single time I went there. So I did not like that at all.
I have been there, and I tell people it's one of those things you should do at least once in your life.
Yeah.
And then
Although I did get to see the Taj Mahal on the second to last time I went. I actually took a little day trip and went out there, and that was really fun.
Yes. So what do you think is the future of remote employment now that you've seen both sides of it? And what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
You know, I think companies, and you're already seeing this in the Bay Area, you've heard Facebook and Twitter and other people say the same thing. I think there's going to be a lot more flexibility that people are going to try and work in. I think it works really well for certain types of people and for certain types of employees. I'm not sure because my team isn't big enough that I can really judge, and we aren't, you know, hiring a bunch of new people that we have to integrate into a company culture. I think that, to be honest with you, over the longer run, I don't think companies are going to totally give up their offices, but I think that they will be a little more flexible, especially on people who are doing business development and sales jobs where there's less of a need to actually physically be in an office. So I think that there will be definitely some modifications in the way that people work.
Yeah, I do. And I was actually really surprised when Facebook made their announcement, because I don't know if you've been up there recently down Marsh Road. I mean,
I actually have been to the Facebook campus.
They built an entire
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's just insane.
I know. Yeah. Remember when it was just Sun Microsystems, and now it's really.
Yeah, no, it's
exploding.
Crazy. Yeah, it is. But yeah, I think that there'll be challenges over the longer run in terms of integrating and having a company culture. So I don't think we'll be in a situation where everybody will be working remotely, but I do think it is going to change. You know, maybe you don't go in every single day. Maybe you're in 3 times a week rather than 5. You know, there's a lot of different ways of skinning a cat here, and I think it's, you know, every company will probably be different. For us, working remotely really hasn't hurt us at all, because there was a certain remoteness to everything I was doing anyway, because our parent company and all the engineering talent was all based in the Middle East anyway. Right. So I was doing really crazy hours, getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning so that I'd have some overlap with our Middle Eastern guys. Or the other crazy thing is when I'm trying to deal with anything in Asia, it's all in the evening. You know, it's all like late evening stuff. So my hours have always been a bit crazy anyway.
Yeah, actually, my favorite when I had a team there was Australia, because there is an hour gap, crossover at the end of our day. It's the start of their morning. So that was always a little bit easier. I don't know if you have ever dealt with Australia at all.
Yeah. I have not dealt with Australia. I did deal with Philippines. Philippines is 15 hours difference.
Yeah.
So that's pretty similar, I think. I don't know what the Australia.
I think Australia is 18. I think that's yeah. So it was 4 o'clock our time. They were coming on board.
Interesting. Okay.
So you could have a call with them for an hour, and then, assuming you leave at 5, and you could still talk to them, with hands free in your car.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, cool.
And as you know, in the Bay Area, no matter where you work or live, it's an hour ride. It's an hour.
It is. No, I know what it's like in the Bay Area. LA is similar, but I was doing both. I was doing commutes in both the Bay Area and in LA, and it used to be LA was worse. And I don't know. I think the Bay Area can be just as bad or worse than LA at times.
I think you're right. So what is the story behind ITG America? What is the product you offer? Who's your target market? All those things.
Yeah, so ITG America, our product is student information systems, which would be like PowerSchool. It's the systems that actually run everything from the grade books, attendance, facilities management, sort of the core information that manages a school. Then we also do learning management systems. That would be like Blackboard, Canvas. Those are the the systems that manage curriculum, all of that kind of stuff. We also have assessment management systems. That's all the testing stuff. Communication and collaboration software. So similar to Zoom, except it's built into our system. So basically all of the systems that on an education side would run a school, including, now we aren't the content creator, but we can take any content, map that to, map learning objects to learning outcomes, etc. So we do all that on the education side. And then we also have an enterprise resource planning, what's called an ERP. That's what Oracle and a bunch of those companies do too. That's the finance, accounting, human resources, everything else. And what's unique about what we do is, while it's modular, it's also an integrated full platform as a service. It's a full platform where we can integrate all of these things in a single relational database. So it's not, oh, we have this system here and that system there and this system here, and we're trying to link all this stuff and then, the data and getting data back and forth from this system into that system. We're able to do it with a single integrated system. And so the background is that because we have this integrated system, we like going and doing major countrywide type deals. So for instance, we do the entire country of Saudi, the entire country of Jordan, Bahrain, etc. It's part of the challenge that we have in like the US market is that's not the way the US market works. The US market is a bunch of small little districts. I mean, you have a few big districts like LA Unified and New York, but most of the districts are smaller little districts, and it makes it a much more challenging thing. And they often have legacy systems that you have to overcome or try and integrate with, and on and on and on. And that's one of the reasons why, even though we're ITG America and we're based in the US, a lot of our focus has actually been on the international markets. And the international markets, interestingly, would rather deal with a US company than a Middle Eastern company. So that's the other funny thing about it. So anyway, that's a little bit about what we do.
That's very interesting. So your target market, like in the U.S., would be LA Unified, right? And do you have?
Yeah, we're actually trying. We've been trying to get in there. So, but it's challenging dealing with, and then everything in the U.S. market goes out to RFP, and then oftentimes the RFPs want you to have local references. So if you don't already have a lot of local references, then some of the RFPs are written in such a way where it's clearly written for one company. In fact, there was one RFP that we saw where you had to have a minimum of 35 local references within that state, and there was only one company that did. So it was written for that company. So it's challenging. It is challenging, but we have some really large deals internationally now in Asia. And so we're actually putting more of our focus on Asia. And we're still in the US market. We're doing some stuff in Utah and some other markets in the US, but it's much more of a challenge.
I would imagine. And would it apply to universities, or would it not?
Yeah, so internationally, we do a lot of universities. We do both higher ed and kindergarten through 12. These are separate products. They're similar. They're built on the same underlying stuff, but they're separate products. In the US, we've really only focused on the kindergarten through 12 market because it's larger. But we do both. We have kindergarten through 12 and we have higher ed.
Interesting. So the current situation, we've already talked about this a little bit. The pandemic forced everyone to go remote, which your company did. And you actually made the change to go fully remote, at least in your San Jose office.
Yeah.
Did that cause any roadblocks or challenges that you didn't expect, or was it more of something that was actually a good thing?
Honestly, I think it was probably a good thing. There are always little hassles, and just the actual physically, we owned a bunch of our furniture, so I had to figure out how to get all that stuff into storage because we didn't want to sell it yet. And then we had difficulties with our landlord situation because we couldn't even get in for the last couple of months. We couldn't even get in. As you know, there was a stay-at-home order in the Bay Area, shelter-in-place order. And so we couldn't even get in there. And then, of course, we're hassling with the landlord about how much rent we have to pay during that period, like I'm sure everybody else is. And we're unfortunately dealing with the Irvine company, who has not been very accommodating, I'll say. So there have been a lot of other situations and other things that I've had to deal with on that. But the actual working remote thing has not been a big issue for us at all, because we were already doing that every way. And the bigger remote thing that we had already been working on for a long time is just the fact that our parent company is based out in the Middle East. And so we already had been, in a sense, working remotely anyway.
Very interesting. Well, Adam, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been very interesting, and I wish you a great weekend. I know.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So
wish you a great weekend too, and hopefully we will get, as we were talking about earlier, hopefully we'll get some sports back soon. So I think NFL will definitely happen, and baseball I'm not so sure about.
Well, they're golfing now. The Schwab Classic's going on right now in Dallas with no fans.
No fans. Interesting. Well, the other thing I'm hoping for is college football. That is my other passion. Pro and college football are my two big passions.
So you've mentioned two universities, UCLA or Stanford.
Well, I went undergrad Stanford, and so that's who I follow.
Yeah.
I'll root for UCLA when they aren't playing Stanford sometimes. But plus I was sports editor of the Stanford Daily when I was an undergrad, and my dad went to Stanford. And I grew up in the Bay Area, so it's Stanford through and through.
And who was the quarterback at Stanford when you were there?
When I was there, it was John Elway.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually knew John fairly well, actually. Yeah. So John Elway actually graduated my junior year.
Interesting. And he did okay, I think.
Yeah, John did pretty well in life, I would say. And a very nice guy, too.
That's what I've heard.
So. Although, interestingly, we didn't go to a bowl while John was there, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, we did not. Paul Wiggin was the head coach, and we were going to go to a bowl John's last year. That was the famous play game. If they had won that game, they were going to a bowl. I believe it was the Peach Bowl. And when we lost the game, that was it. No more bowl.
Wow, I didn't know that. You just kind of assume that they would have been. You
would have thought. And that year, John's last year, at one point, we were kicking butt. I mean, we were doing great. We beat #1 Washington. I was at that game. I mean, we were doing really well, and then we collapsed at the end of the year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we could probably talk football for hours, but I'm going to let you.
Exactly. Anyway, really nice talking to you today. Thank you very much.
All right, bye.
All right. Goodbye.